So, you guys ready to go? Hopefully. All right. First question. Listen up carefully. Be ready to speak up. Remember that keyword speak. All right. So, okay. First question. And there's some of them may be kind of weird. Okay, Stephen King. Okay, you ready? Which Stephen King novel takes place mostly in the fictional Overlook Hotel? Is it Salem's Lot, It, The Shining, or Doctor Sleep? Who knows?
Is it The Shining?
Yeah, Malachi, you are right. Malachi is first on my trivia list. All right, one for him. Okay, number 2. Who's the protagonist of the Hunger Games?
Katniss
Everdeen.
Ooh, I gotta give that to Kiera.
I think Alyssa tied with her.
All right, Alyssa. Good job, girl. All right. Who is the antagonist of the Hunger Games?
President Snow.
Snow.
Nice job.
Another echo.
An echo?
Yeah.
Good job. All right. Nice job. Who is considered the wise wizard of Harry Potter?
Dumbledore.
Good job, Alyssa. Know his first name?
Albus.
Yeah, that's right. Good job. All right, a little bit harder one here. What novel is set on a desert planet inhabited by giant sandworms? Stranger in a Strange Land, Foundation, Dune, or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Somebody take a guess on it. What novel is set on a desert planet inhabited by giant sandworms? Think
Dune.
of, yeah, who said that?
Me.
Oh, Kira. That's right. Sand dunes. So that's the only way I knew that one because I didn't have a clue. We got a couple of you talking. Not a lot of you, but a couple of you. All right, I'm going to go with one more. You ready? What was the first book sold on Amazon.com? The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Fluid Concepts and Creative Analogies, Holy Bible, or Stoicism and the Art of Happiness? Somebody's got to answer. One of you has the answer.
The Bible.
No. Somebody else. Oops.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Got 2 more. Is it Fluid Concepts and Creative Analogies or Stoicism and the Art of Happiness?
Fluid concept.
And it says the Fluid Concepts and Creative Analogies. She's correct. All right, that was it. All right, you guys open up your notes from last week. If you did not get them returned to you, you'll have to unsubmit. Hopefully I returned them all to you. If you did not turn them in at all, then, well, you know, you're okay, I guess, because you should open them up. If you did, you guys should had, I'll open this up. I gotta share. I keep forgetting to share. Hold on. Okay, share screen. All right. Okay, so the notes here, what we worked on last week, I'll open that up. You should have finished Empty Stomach. Most of you did. There's like 2 or 3 of you that did not. So make sure that you are asking one of us, Ms. Hannah, Mrs. Votes, myself, please ask, or for any concerns you might have. So most of you who did it got their full credit. I don't think anybody got below a 9. So that was good if you turned it in. So make sure you do that. Okay. Each of these poems are worth 10 points. So altogether, of course, what the classroom says, it's 40 points altogether. So when we finish all those, you'll get that full credit. I mean, you'll get the credit that you received for each of those poems put together. Okay. So go ahead and open up the notes. We finished up through a lot of those, but I added the setting on here. You guys don't actually have to have that one today. So, but I do want you to go ahead and, what's the definition of setting? There's 2 key words. What is it? Help me out. And you guys will have to add this to your notes. So you're just going to write at setting under theme. Okay. So add that to your notes. Can anybody help me out? Unmute yourself. And in the example, it says Cinderella was, you know, she was a young girl long ago in the past. So we got what? We have time. And then it says she's from a home in a kingdom from far away. We have time and what? You guys have to be talking more.
Settings.
Yeah, Malachi was getting it.
Don't use the same word to describe something. So if she's asking for a setting, you might say a time and a, where are you at right now?
A place.
Yes.
Place. Yeah. 2 keywords to describe setting. Make sure you have setting in your notes, and you have time and place as your key terms, key definitions to that. Okay. All right. So going on setting. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so if I gave you the example that shows on the screen I shared here, it says that the sun is setting in the evening sky. We got Malcolm slowly turned and walked toward his home. All was silent and still. Through the window, he could see his older brother, James, watching a football game on the TV. James was home for the first year of his college in the city. So he was home from the city. Okay, so it was lonely at times for Malcolm, but it was nice to have James's shadow during his senior year of high school. So time period, give me some words that would indicate time period. Evening. Good job. Good job. All right, what else? Anybody? Jenna? Time period.
Like by time period, do you mean like it'd be evening, but like would it be like kind of like night-ish time of like not evening, but like closer to like night time period, evening?
Yeah, that kind of goes along with evening. What year is Malcolm in high school?
It's summer because he's out of college.
He's out of college. Malcolm is not. So it's not quite summer, right? So it would be more, you know, that'd probably still be like springtime. Colleges usually get out a week or two before the public school, public schools, right? So, and we know that Malcolm is in his what year of school?
Senior year.
Senior year of high school. There's time period for Malcolm. Is it way back in the day, like in the 1800s, or is it modern day?
Modern.
How do we know?
It has TV.
Good job. There you go. All right. So you got some ideas of time, right? We know that for the place, where are they at?
His house.
Good job. Right. Malcolm's home, right? Do we know if it's a city or if it's in the country?
City.
Well, it says that James is coming back from the city. So coming back from the city, so we don't really know. It could be the suburb, you know, like Wichita's a city, right? Augusta's kind of a suburb type of thing. So it could be a suburb. It's not in the city. Or it could be in the country. You know, it's silent and still, so it could be the country. You know, we don't know for sure on that, but we can get an idea that's probably not the city. So, okay, we're done with that. Just that's the setting. Make sure you understand that. Elevated diction, we're going to work with that a little bit today in today's poem. So make sure you understand that's just more formal writing. A lot of times they might denote a time period of their writing by some of the words that they used. If you guys have read any of Shakespeare's stuff, like Romeo and Juliet's a common one in 9th grade. So some of you might have got to a little bit of that. But there's a lot of elevated diction that would definitely denote the time period in that particular story. So we talked about metaphor last week. Symbolism, we didn't get to symbolism very much. So open up your notes and make sure, let's get those keywords to symbolism definition. Okay, symbolism is, you know, we have our flag. And what does our flag, what's that key word? It uses symbols to what ideas or qualities?
Represent.
Yes, awesome. 5 claps to you. So represent ideas or qualities bigger than themselves. So we talked about a flag is just a piece of cloth, but it's not actually a piece of cloth because it represents whatever that flag denotes, whether it be a 4-H flag or United States flag or, you know, Boy Scout flag. There's different representations for that symbol, like colors. Blue represents calm. Green, it represents environment. Black sometimes denotes evil. An example here from Harry Potter, his little Z on his forehead, you know, symbolizes that bravery. It's kind of a badge of honor for him. Talks about Albus Dumbledore, his name, Bumblebee. Dumbledore means bumblebee, and he likes to hum. Albus means white, which means that good white wizard. Okay, so symbolism. Any questions? Simile. Simile makes a what? Showing similarities between two different things. Somebody help me out?
Comparison.
Good job. Comparison. All right, showing similarities between two different things. And what words does it like to use? It's unlike a metaphor in that it uses words
Like.
such as like or as. Job. Okay. And then there's an example. The house is as clean as a new car straight from the lot. So comparing the house to a clean car using the word as. Okay. Hyperbole, or wait, personification, figure of speech, which an animal, an animate object, or an idea is given what kind of qualities? So an inanimate object would be like a phone, right? What would be, it's given what kind of qualities?
Human quality.
Nice job. Human qualities. I don't even know what I'm spelling there. Okay. So we often say that my pencil just walked away. So we're given legs on that pencil, which is a human quality, so, or an animal quality, which adds to the interest and creativity of your writing. And a lot of times humor, which I like. Hyperbole, anybody have any questions so far? Let me slow down. Hyperboles, figure of speech that involves what? Who knows the answer?
Sound.
That's onomatopoeia. Hyperbole, you look like $1,000,000. There's a cliche hyperbole.
Exaggeration.
Yes, nice job. Exaggeration for that point of emphasis. He ran as fast as the wind. Okay, and then there's an example about Franklin Delano's speech. Delano Roosevelt, he had a speech that he uses fear. There's only one thing to fear is fear itself. So it's a little bit exaggerated because fear can't, it's actually fear itself, but it's actually a little bit of personification as well. So. Alliteration, those are the fun ones. Those are your nursery rhymes and your tongue twisters that you enjoyed as a kid, which most of you are still kids. You should enjoy them still, but some of you like, oh, I don't want you to give me a tongue twister. That's just not adult-like. So if I said that, but a better butter makes a batter better, what sounds are repeated? Your first sounds, right? We're going to call those your initial sounds. The B sounds repeated throughout the line, right? Which makes it a tongue twister. Sometimes they get hard to read when you repeat those sounds over and over again. Anybody have a good tongue twister for us? Nobody?
She sells seashells by the seashore.
Okay. Yeah, I always use Sally. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. What about the skunk? Oh wait, that's more of a assonance. What about Peter Piper? Can anybody say that one? Nobody knows the Peter Piper one? Didn't you know that he went and picked a peck of pickled peppers? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. You know that one? A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. But if Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? But we never actually know where they are. We never find that out. Were you like astounded by that when you were a kid, like dumbfounded? Like, where did he put them? No. You guys got to smile a little bit. Interact. Okay, here we go. I'll move on. Okay, dumb teacher jokes. Okay, illusion. Illusion is a figurative speech as well. It's not illusion, it's allusion. Very big difference there, okay? Illusions you use in magic shows. Allusion is more for literary works. So if I were to say that what's a famous car racer? Like, I don't know what car racing came to mind, but who's famous? Who's like famous or has been famous? Anybody into NASCAR or anything? No. Anybody chatting with me and I don't know about it? Okay, so if I said that you run as fast as what's the messenger god? Aries? Or if I said you were as strong as Hercules. If I said something like that, if I referred to Hercules, you guys all know that Hercules is from mythology, right? And he's known to be very strong because he's the son of Zeus. So I'm referring to this person who could be my friend or someone that I'm weightlifting with as being really, really, really strong. Strong as Hercules, which would be, that'd be notable. Okay, so that's a reference when you give a reference to a person, a place, or event in history. Okay, so this example talks about Mildred running like from the parlor like a native fleeing an eruption of Vesuvius, the volcano that destroyed Pompeii back in Italy. So it means she was running like mad, like she's never ran in her life. So. Okay, you guys need to open up the poem Sympathy. We're done with the notes. Did anybody need those notes up anymore? We're good. Everybody got the main definitions down? Okay, so when you open up Sympathy, all right, this is a poem written by Paul Laurence Dunbar. He was a African-American. He wrote in the late 1800s. He was he was extremely famous poet, a prodigy. You guys know what a prodigy is? If you got on the piano and just got on there and you like picked up on different notes and different songs and it didn't take much for you, you might be considered a prodigy, someone that really picks up on things, a certain talent fast. You could be a prodigy at running. You could be a prodigy at writing, singing. I mean, anything that you can think of. If you are really talented in that, then you might be considered a prodigy. And that's what Dunbar, he was considered a prodigy in writing. And he actually started writing poems that became famous at age 6 years old, if you can believe that. So that's, if you think about when you were 6 and what you were doing, that might be a little bit different from what he was doing back in that time. So he was actually born to parents that were slaves. They were freed slaves, so they were former slaves. And so he felt and heard a lot of different emotions that stem from his parents, as well as his surroundings. You've got to consider back in this day and age, African Americans were very much not part of society. And this person, he actually went to school, public school, and actually became part of their newspaper staff. And I mean, he was definitely wasn't oppressed like most African Americans at that time. But I guess because he had this talent. So anyway, he talks about this caged bird in his poem, and the caged bird, of course, is a metaphor for, and I'll just tell you, I'm not going to tell you, like you just pick that up as we read, but it's a metaphor. He's comparing the caged bird to something or someone else, okay? And so I want you to pick up on what that is as we read, okay? So it says, I know what the caged bird feels, alas. So alas is a term that is Old English for like, finally I felt this, you know, what it felt like to be caged up, okay? You think of those caged animals that you see in zoos that so want to be free and get out there in the wilderness and be a, you know, and live like they're supposed to live. You know, you kind of feel like what it feels to be a caged bird. When the sun is bright on the upland slopes, when the wind stirs soft through the springing grass, and the river flows like a stream of glass. When the first bird sings and the first bud opens, and the faint perfume from its chalice stills, I know what the caged bird feels. So all that is very positive about what it feels like to be free, okay? The wind stirs to the springing glass, river flows like a stream of glass. And the faint perfume, that smell from its chalice. A chalice is a cup or a container. And then he says, I know what the caged bird feels. I know why the caged bird beats its wing till its blood is red on the cruel bars. For he must fly back to its perch and cling when he fain would be on a bowous swing. And a pain still throbs in the old scars, and they pulse again in a keener sting. I know why he beats his wings. I know why the caged bird sings, ah me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, when he beats his bars and he would be free. It is not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the caged bird sings. You notice those last, you notice the first line, I know why the caged bird feels. The last line, I know why the caged bird sings. You see, I know why the caged bird, I know why the caged bird. You see that repetition used? Why does he use that repetition there? What is it emphasizing? Anybody know? You guys ever been in a circumstance when you don't really know what's going on with the person? Like what's going on with a person's life, and like your friend, and you know, it might not be good, you know, there's things going on at home that you just didn't, that's not very good for your friend. And then when you finally find out about it and like what terrible conditions might be going on, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know, I feel so bad. So Dunbar is speaking of this caged bird. You know, you guys all see these birds in cages like, oh, that's so cute, I want a bird so bad. But he's really, you know, he's putting this writing in the bird's point of view, I guess, okay? And metaphorically, what is he comparing the caged bird to? Deanne, can you help me? I mean, not Deanne. Now I want you to help me out, Ms. Votes. Perla, any idea? What's he metaphorically comparing the caged bird to?
I'm not sure.
I couldn't hear you. Rain, you have any idea? So if you think of the times that we're in and Black Lives Matter, and you think about this poem here and how much, you know, they're struggling to get all the rights and just be free and be able to, you know, get, you know, be treated equally in every way, you know, and that's kind of what's going on with Black Lives Matter right now. You can see that this Dunbar is speaking of what they came from, okay? So this caged bird, you know, he knows how it feels to be a slave now, or encaged into this, you know, slavery. And he, you know, he says, you know, he talks about the freedom that we could be a part of in this first stanza. And then he goes on to the second stanza and talks about how cruel it was and how painful it was to be stuck in this cage. He says, we got to fly back to this perch. Well, a perch is in a cage, guys, right? A perch is what a bird stands on in a cage, within a cage. And then he says, when hopefully, I would really be hopeful to be out on this branch, this bough of swing. That's a tree branch, you know, because a tree branch is known to be in the open, out in the forests, okay, where freedom exists. So he's always hopeful that he's going to be there. But he says, you know, I have this pain still throbs from these old scars. Well, these old scars is where he's been beaten, or he's been trying to get out of this cage, and he can't. He's stuck, but he's still going to try. He's still going to continue that struggle to get out, to be free. What else do you do, right? But then he says, and they pulse. Well, these scars, they pulse again. You know how when you get this ache and it throbs? And that's kind of what he's going. This ache just throbs. These old scars throb, but they throb with a keener sting. They're stronger. He's wiser about what he does. You know, and he knows what it's going to feel like, but he still continues to beat his wings. He still continues to try to get out, okay? And then he says, I know why the cage bird sings. And when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, he just wants to break free. So he wants to get that freedom. He wants to gain that freedom. It's not because he's joyful. You guys sing because a lot of times you're excited, you're happy, you're elated about what's going on today. But in this case, this bird is singing for what? Might want to chime in?
Freedom.
Freedom. Yeah, freedom. Okay. It says it's not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the cage bird sings. So he's singing for that freedom. And hopefully that
This guy was actually a slave.
his parents were slaves.
His parents were slaves, but he was born late enough. He would not have ever been a slave, right?
Right. His parents were slaves. But being in the 1800s, he felt, and you know, just by the surroundings of how they were treated, and it was very rare, you know, that. So I'm sure that he was speaking through, you know, more of his parents and the viewpoint at that time. So I'm sure the emotions ran very strong through his body because of what they went through, or because of what Blacks went through or going through at that time. So. All right. Any more questions, thoughts on the poem, guys? Anything you want to add in? Okay. If you go look at the, questions on this poem, it'll say sympathy. All right. Questions here. Okay, so all right, so after reading this poem, what's the most accurate statement of the theme, the main theme, or the main message? Anybody answer that for me? Which one would be the most significant theme or message from this poem?
E.
Somebody said B.
C.
D. People always want what they cannot have. A little bit, but there's a more powerful one than that. Anybody? This guy, he's like this bird is like he's always, always trying, no matter how it feels, no matter how many bruises, no matter how much blood pours, he's always going to continue to try to be free, isn't he? If he dies, heck, he goes to heaven, right? If he escapes, he's gained his freedom. But this bird is always continuing to beat his wings to gain that freedom. No matter what he has to do, no matter what happens, always going to try to gain that freedom. Okay? So it's based on which one? Everybody got it?
C.
C. Hopefully you got C. People will continue to struggle for freedom no matter what the cost. Kind of what we're going through right now, right? We've gone through a lot of different things in history about people trying to gain freedom. Mostly right now we're still continuing with trying to get, blacks trying to gain rights and being equal to everyone else, which is part of freedom. So, okay, so number 2, identify an example of elevated diction. Did anybody catch that in the first line? First line of the poem where it says, I know what the caged bird feels, alas. Alas is not one of those words that you use today. It's an old English term. It's really it's only denoting that the tragedy that possibly Dunbar had, because he didn't actually exist in slavery. His parents did, and he probably felt sorrow for them. And it's finally come to him what they actually felt. As a kid, you're not going to know. I mean, he didn't actually grow up in slavery, actually, but so he probably didn't understand it until later. So that maybe why he added that term here. Alas. Okay. So it's actually just giving that emphasis on the sorrow or the tragic events that he now understands. Alas. Okay. Another word for chalice. Chalice was used for the perfume, the smells that came out if you were in the outside, and there's going to be different, especially in spring when you have different flowers that are blooming. So, and the faint perfume of its chalice still. So this cup of perfume, or a goblet, perhaps, which is a larger cup. What does the word keener mean as it is used in the second stanza? Okay, keener. For he must fly back to his perch. Okay, and the pain still throbs in the old scars, and they pulse again with a keener sting. I know why he beats his wing. So he's become wiser. He's became more knowledgeable. So another word for that would be what? You guys got to talk. Got to know you're alive out there. Brianna, you got an idea? What's another word for keener? If you become keener at your math equations with Mr. Babcock, you become what? You become you become faster at answering the questions. You're like, oh, I got this. You're becoming stronger. You're becoming smarter, sharper. Okay.
On those kind of questions, it can be helpful to take the word like sharper or bloodier and put them in the poem where keener is and see which one fits the best.
Great strategy. Because I wouldn't say, and they pulse again with a bloodier steam. Doesn't really fit. Okay. But stronger or sharper, it's more intense. So number 3, drawing conclusions. Okay, the speaker of the poem says, I know why the bird beats his wings on the cruel bars. Why does the bird beat its wings? We all know that now, right? We've talked about that. What evidence supports your conclusion? Well, if you go back to the poem, goodness gracious. Okay, if you go back to the poem, you know, why does he continually beat his wings against the cruel bars? And it says, for he must fly back to his perch, this cage, when he's just so optimistic or hopeful that he could just be on this branch of a tree, this bough of swing, okay? Just wants to be there. This is a good evidence part right here, okay? Good evidence. Talks about the grass and the smells. I mean, any of this, he would just love to be out in the bright sun, okay? Almost every line is evidence that he wants to be free. So. What is the bird praying for when he sings? Anya?
Freedom.
Yep, perfect. That's all I need there. The tone of the poem is best described as, what's the attitude? Is he frightened? Is he sorrowful? Is it peaceful, or is it war?
Sorrowful.
Yeah.
Sorrow. Yeah, good job. A lot of regret for, you know, what has happened. A lot of sorrow for what, you know, that this bird is just stuck in this cage like a slave is stuck in a cage, and he doesn't, you know, there's no reason for it. There's no rhyme or reason that, you know, they can understand. Like, why? I'm meant to be free. I'm meant to walk on my legs. I'm meant to see the sights and sounds. In the first stanza, Dunbar uses a simile to compare which of the following. Go back to the first stanza. Tell me what simile is used. Leanne, can you tell me what the simile is in that first stanza?
The river flows like a stream of glass.
Yep. Okay, there's our comparison. Very smooth, very calm. The opening and closing of each stanza are examples of allusion, hyperbole, metaphor, or repetition. Rain, you have an idea? Doesn't it repeat?
Yeah, I was gonna say repetition.
Yep. You're right, repetition. It repeats to emphasize that point. I know now what a caged bird feels. Okay, what do the images, number 8, what do the images in lines 2 through 6 of the stanza 1 symbolize? Springtime in a distant land, the freedom that is inaccessible to the bird, the hope that sustains the bird, everything that the speaker takes for granted. Anybody want to take a gander on that one? Without me calling on you. Malachi, what do you think?
B.
The freedom that is inaccessible. So it's just not going to happen. It's just not right. I mean, it's not accessible to the bird, right? You can try. It's not going to happen. So B would be your good answer. Good answer. Number 9, reread the second stanza. Which of the following stanzas allusion to the cruelty of slavery? So it says the bird's wounds and scars are like those from whipping. The bird's wings do not do it any good while it is caged. The bird would rather be swinging from a tree bough. The bird tries again and again to escape. So which one is given a reference to a historical event? What do you think, Alyssa? Alyssa.
D.
Bird tries it again. Well, it's trying to escape. There's really no reference there to, I mean, yeah, escaping is, we try to escape all the time, different things, but it's not really given a reference. So think about a historical event that happened, especially to slaves, if they tried to escape. What kind of,
A.
you say A?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of times, as we know, slaves were whipped, okay, for trying to escape or not doing the right thing. So that's a good reference to that particular time period. Yeah. Okay. And the last one is talking about the extended metaphor of the caged bird. If you guys didn't, I mean, you understood that the caged bird is actually a metaphor for a slave, all right, and its treatment and its emotions towards being caged up, okay? So it wants you to explain why, in Dunbar's opinion, the caged bird does sing, and then support your response with evidence, okay, from the text. So I'm going to ask you to finish that one up, okay? The last thing that I would like you to do is as homework that I'd like you to complete by Thursday, if you can, July 9th. Okay, I will update the classroom date to denote that. But I would like you to read A Caged Bird. It's a very much like Sympathy, but it's written by Maya Angelou from her point of view, her point of view. And again, it's a lot like it. The stanzas are very much, it starts out very positive, and then it goes to very negative connotations where it talks about bars of rage. So I want you to look at some of those differences and similarities. There are 4 questions to the caged bird, okay, that I would like you to finish up. They all have to do with the vocabulary that we've already taken notes on. You do have to do a little bit of contrasting between the caged bird and Sympathy, okay? You have to do a little bit on symbolism. And again, back to the extended metaphor and what it is conveying there, okay? So there's 4 questions that I want you to answer based on the caged bird poem, all right? And then make sure that you finish up Sympathy, okay? If you have not already, make sure you finish that up, okay? Now, you do not need to, we'll go through this next week, all right? So you have, your homework is making sure that you finish Empty Stomach, Sympathy, and the Caged Bird, okay?